A star gone too soon. The news came suddenly, like a storm no one saw coming. Actor Yu Menglong, one of the most beloved faces in the entertainment industry, was gone. No warning, no explanation, just a brief statement that left more questions than answers. To millions of fans, it didn't feel like reality. You had always seemed unshakable, soft-spoken, grounded, the kind of actor who disappeared into his roles and reappeared with quiet humility. But as the public struggled to process the loss, another narrative began to surface. Fans, insiders, and even a few anonymous voices from within the industry started whispering the same haunting question. Could it be true? Did his agency have something to do with it? It sounded far-fetched, until old patterns began to resurface. Because this wasn't the first time tragedy had followed one of the agency's rising stars. And that's when people began to look closer. Much closer. The strange days before it happened. In the days leading up to the tragedy, Yu's behavior began to change in ways that only make sense now. He'd stopped appearing in public as often. His usual bright energy, the soft humor fans adored, seemed dimmed. In one of his last live interactions, his words carried a quiet weight that, at the time, nobody understood. Sometimes silence is safer than honesty. At the time, fans assumed it was a line from a script. But in hindsight, it felt like a confession. There were rumors that you had been in closed meetings with management, intense, private, and emotionally draining. A few who worked nearby claimed they'd heard raised voices through the walls. Something was happening behind those doors. Something you never spoke about publicly. And yet, in his final public message, a short post that vanished within hours, he wrote, "Peace comes at a price. But it's worth it." No one knew what he meant. Now, it feels like a warning. The night that changed everything. That night, the world went silent. Neighbors later reported hearing unfamiliar footsteps in the hallway. Someone said they heard a door slam, followed by muffled voices. Nothing that seemed alarming at the time, just the ordinary sounds of city life. Until it wasn't. By dawn, the shocking headline had spread like wildfire: Yu Menglong was gone. Authorities called it an unfortunate accident. But fans didn't buy it. The details didn't line up: the missing footage, the lack of clarity, the speed of the investigation. Everything felt too neat, too rushed, too rehearsed. And then there was the agency's statement, a short, emotionless announcement that felt less like grief and more like control. "We urge the public not to speculate and to respect privacy." That was it. No sorrow. No tribute. No acknowledgement of the star they had built their brand around. Within hours, Yu's name vanished from their official platforms. His portfolio erased, his collaborations removed, as if he had never existed. To the fans who had followed his journey from the beginning, that was the final straw. Fans connect the dots. The outcry was instant. Hashtags, digital memorials, candlelight vigils. But alongside the grief came something sharper: suspicion. And then realization. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Over the past few years, several fast-rising artists from the same agency had met eerily similar fates: sudden career pauses, vanishing acts, and in some cases, unexplained tragedies brushed off as personal matters. Each time, fans had raised questions. Each time, the agency issued calm, calculated denials. Now, with Yu Menglong's death, those old memories resurfaced like ghosts. One viral post read, "How many times will they say, 'accident,' before we admit something's wrong?" Another simply said, "It's never random when it happens this often." The fandom, once united by admiration, had become an investigative force, dissecting every clip, every message, every silence. The missing pieces. The more they looked, the more unsettling the picture became. His final hours remained wrapped in ambiguity, no confirmed timeline, no clear account of who last saw him. A building worker claimed there were technical issues with the security system that night. Another neighbor mentioned unfamiliar men leaving the building at odd hours. And then there was Yu's private phone log, which reportedly contained several calls to one particular number, believed to be linked to the agency. What was said during those calls remains unknown. But fans noticed something else: a pattern of deletion. Posts vanishing. Accounts going private. Mentions scrubbed. Even co-stars who once spoke warmly of Yu suddenly went silent. It was as if someone wanted to erase the noise before it became an echo. The shadow that won't leave. In the following days, people waited for the agency to speak up again. A tribute, a memorial, anything. But what they got was nothing. Instead, new artists were being promoted under the same brand. Press releases went out as if the tragedy had never occurred. The contrast was jarring. Fans flooded comment sections with one burning question. How can you move on so quickly? Others began drawing eerie parallels between Yu and other young talents who had also been lost under that same management. Different faces, different years, but the same quiet erasures. No one said the words outright. No one dared accuse directly. But the silence said enough. The leak that changed everything. Weeks later, a short audio clip began circulating online. It wasn't clear where it came from, or whether it was even real, but the voice was soft, heavy, and unmistakably familiar. If anything happens, tell them I tried to make it right. The agency dismissed it instantly, calling it a hoax. But to the fans who had spent years memorizing his voice, the tone, the rhythm, the emotion, it felt too real to ignore. The clip spread faster than wildfire, reigniting everything the agency had tried to contain. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Journalists began asking the questions everyone had been too afraid to ask. And yet, the official channels remained unmoved. No new investigation, no press conference, no answers. Just silence, the kind you once said was safer than truth. The industry's dark whispers. Behind closed doors, insiders began speaking, quietly, cautiously. They talked about pressure, about creative disagreements, about deals that demanded more than talent. No one named names. No one gave details. But the message was clear: there were things in this industry better left unspoken. Some said Yu had wanted out, not just from his contract, but from the machine itself. That he had grown tired of pretending, tired of being told what to be, tired of playing a role even off-screen. And maybe someone didn't like that. It's just speculation, no proof, no confession, but the silence that followed only deepened the unease. The legacy that refuses to die. Today, Yu Menglong's name lives on, not just through his dramas, but through the collective heartbeat of his fans who refuse to let his story fade. His final performances are watched not just as entertainment, but as fragments of a man trying to speak in ways he couldn't before. Every line, every expression, feels like a secret message, a coded farewell. People still light candles. They still post quotes from his interviews. They still whisper his name with the same mixture of love and rage. And with every new rising star under that same agency, the same fear lingers. Will it happen again? The question that won't die. No one knows what really happened that night. The agency insists it was an accident. The authorities say the case is closed. But the fans, the people who watched him grow, laugh, and dream, aren't convinced. Because sometimes, it's not about what's said. It's about what's missing. And what's missing here is everything that matters. So they keep asking, louder with each passing day. Could it be true? A question that once sounded absurd has now become the one thing no one can silence. And until the truth comes out, Yu Menglong's story will not rest, and neither will those who loved him,